rate does not increase following an exercise program. There's no chronic increase in the resting metabolic rate. Well, some research has shown a significant increase, and we went through all those studies. So there are a handful of studies that we went through that show that resting metabolic rate, yes, is increased from working out. But if you go back through all those studies, the magnitude of change there wasn't very large. If you go back through all those studies, the magnitude was only 30 to 142 kcals per day. So even the studies that are showing that resting metabolic rate increases, we're not talking about a lot of an increase compared to how many calories are needed to lose a single pound. Older adults, some of those studies were done on senior citizens. Older adults are likely to show increases in resting metabolic rate because you can impact muscle mass more in someone who's older versus someone who's younger. So you have to be careful when you interpret the research, because you can't just generalize the findings of those studies and say that, well, yeah, resting metabolic rate is going to increase, because maybe it will only increase in older people, because you'd expect a bigger change because older people have lost much more muscle mass than younger people. When weight loss is achieved by exercise rather than by diet, exercise may prevent the decline in resting metabolic rate. Okay, so that concludes all of that, but now we're going to get into the corollary of this and why this is so tied into weight loss, because this is the argument that people use, is that you have to lift the weights to make bigger muscles so you can burn more calories all day, because the ultimate goal is to lose weight. So we're going to get into weight loss. And if you were here yesterday in the other room, then I apologize, because this part of the presentation will repeat a lot of what I did yesterday. But don't leave the room, because repetition is the mother of knowledge. So it helps to hear this a second time. But I wanted to put this in also with the rest of the metabolic rate because they're so intimately connected. So weight equals calories consumed minus calories expended. You must expend more calories than you consume to lose weight. There's no other way to do it. So 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. Carbohydrate is 4 calories per gram, protein is 4 calories per gram, and fat is more than twice as calorically dense, 9 calories per gram. All the research shows that people who lose weight and keep it off for the rest of their entire lives lose weight relatively slowly, 1/2 to 1 pound per week. So if you stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, you watch these television infomercials that promise 10 inches off your waistline in the next 10 weeks, if that were possible, I don't even think it's possible, but if that were possible, those people are not going to keep that weight off for the rest of their lives. They're just going to get it right back. The people who lose weight and keep it off the rest of their lives lose 1/2 to 1 pound per week. Out of the whole conference, this is the most important slide that I have. So if you haven't been listening up until now, you got to listen now. Because this is why people get fat. And if people could understand what's on this slide, we would totally eliminate obesity in this country. But for some reason, people can't understand what's on this slide, even though it makes perfect sense. We eat 3 things: carbohydrate, protein, and fat. And I color-coded this, so look at the colors. Carbohydrates are used to restore muscle and liver glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose in the muscles and the liver. And, of course, we have glucose free in the blood. Protein is used for any tissue that needs to be repaired, any structures that need to be built. The mitochondria that we talked about before, the actin and myosin that we talked about before, for that to get synthesized, it's synthesized by proteins. So if you do a lot of endurance training and you eat some protein, some of that protein will go to synthesize more mitochondria. If you lift heavy weights, the protein that you consume will go to synthesize more actin and myosin. And then fat is used in a lot of places. Fat is also very important. It's an important component of cell membranes. It's the largest storage form of energy, even on very thin people. Insulation, of course, and then we have a layer of fat around our organs. You think you have a layer of fat around your heart? You better have a layer of fat around your heart. We have to protect the heart. When you exercise, you use up a lot of your muscle glycogen. So when you eat carbohydrates following your workout, where are those carbohydrates going to go? What are they going to do? They're going to go to serve that metabolic priority. because it is so threatening to the muscle's survival to run out of carbohydrate, because we only have a limited store, and muscles would prefer to use carbohydrate as fuel. The public at large would love it to be fat. But really, the predominant fuel that we use, the preferred fuel of muscles, is carbohydrate. But we only have a limited store. So when you do a hard or long workout and you lower that carbohydrate tank, any carbohydrates that you consume through your mouth is going to be used to fulfill that metabolic need. The same thing with protein. If you do a hard weight training workout and you damage the muscle fibers, then any protein that you consume through your mouth is going to be used to repair the damaged muscle tissue or to make more actin and myosin so you can get stronger. Anything that we consume that is over and above these metabolic needs goes to Jason's left butt cheek and gets stored as fat. And so I put the words right there. It is a metabolic priority of recovering muscle to restore that glycogen because it's limiting. And so if we run out, that's threatening to the survival of the muscle. But what happens in America? People don't exercise. So if people don't exercise, they never put a drain on their muscle and liver glycogen. They never have any tissue to repair or rebuild. If you didn't do any exercise, what's there to repair? There's no damage done. And so everything that they put through their mouths, whether it's a carbohydrate or it's a protein, will go to their left and right butt cheeks and everywhere else. And so the way to force all of what you eat to go down the left arrow is to keep having a demand. And you have a demand by exercising. Now, I just don't understand why America can't get that through their head. And they wonder, why am I getting fat? Because they don't exercise. It's not because they eat too much. You can eat as much as you want. If you have a huge demand, if you created a huge metabolic demand, then anything you eat is going to go to fulfill that demand. Does that make sense? I'm not a passionate guy at all, can you tell?